Gear purchases can fall into two categories: trophies or tools. The first is the kind we buy because we lust for it. We think it'll make us better, or it'll unlock some new creative potential. Or maybe it's just because we want to sit in the feeling of having something better than the person next to us. Sometimes it does what we hoped, most of the time it leaves us disappointed. It's, at best, an expensive gamble. The other, though, is almost always guaranteed satisfaction, and is one of those purchases that leaves me feeling like almost any amount of money is worth it. It's when a purchase perfectly solves a problem. So this video is going to be two parts. One where I'm just kind of unpacking the lens and sort of showing you guys some of the features that it has, and the other is going to be tomorrow night when I have an engagement session that I'm going to give it a test on and try it out. I've been wanting this exact lens for such a long time, and it just never existed. I've been tempted by other Leica zoom lenses that were close but not quite it. The Leica 24-90 I was able to use for a couple months this winter while I had another lens out for repair. I have a video review on that I'll link down below. The other lens that Leica offers was the 24-70. And you know, I thought about that as well, but also didn't quite hit the mark for me in the size category specifically, and I just don't prefer the 24mm focal length, which actually is a change that I've had. I originally spent the first 10 years of my wedding photography career in the Canon ecosystem, and my first zoom lens was a 24-70, that 2.8, kind of shaped like a football. And 24 was with me since the beginning. After deciding that I wasn't a zoom guy and was more of a prime person, I ended up getting the Canon 24 prime and had that forever. When I switched to Leica and saw that they didn't offer a 24mm focal length, I was kind of unsure what I was going to do. I was able to find similar focal lengths for all the other Canon lenses that I was replacing, but the closest that Leica came to 24 was, of course, 28. I just gave it a shot, not expecting anything, kind of thinking maybe I wouldn't like it and that it'd be just too not wide enough. And after using the 28 for the last 5 years since then, I actually have flipped, and now, you know, when I was using that 24-90, 24 is just too big for the way my brain views a scene now. So obviously I've calibrated to 28, and now 24 just doesn't have any use for me anymore. If you guys have seen some of my other videos, you know that I'm a prime shooter through and through. I use the SL Oppo primes and a couple M-Lens primes for all of my wedding work. I don't own a zoom, and one of the reasons that I discussed in that 24-90 review is for not owning a zoom is my brain just has a difficult time not having segmented focal lengths for a scene that I'm viewing. Like I had mentioned that I'm looking at a scene and I'm thinking 35, so I grab my 35, or 28, I grab my 28. But this idea of having a zoom where I can pretty much hit any focal length in between 28 and 70, for example, 29, 33, 45, my brain just can't work like that. I spend more time thinking about which zoom to use, going back and forth and stuff like that, which focal length to use by zooming in and out, that I feel like I'm wasting time. Of course, all of this is happening in nanoseconds, but I just kind of feel like over the course of a wedding day, it just fatigues my brain a little bit more than just having my fixed primes, if that makes sense. If they ever came out with a zoom lens with hard detents at each of the focal lengths, then yeah, I think I would just freaking love that. That'd be so nice. So why did I end up getting this lens? Why did I end up needing this lens? Well, a couple things. I often find myself in the fall doing a lot of family photo sessions, and I feel like when I'm, working, especially with kids when they're in the mix, if I'm coming up to a shoot with my wedding gear, I got whole fast straps, I got a camera on each side, I have a sling bag with a third camera in there so I can have 35, 28, 50, that kind of a thing. I feel like it's just a little bit overload, a little bit too intense for just like the dynamics of a family photo shoot. Kids like don't feel comfortable with a photographer initially, and so just trying to like think about making myself as approachable as possible. Having one camera, one small lens feels like it's much less intimidating than having like this gorilla of a guy come up to you with like all of these cameras hanging around him. And last fall when I had that 24-90 on loan from Leica, I used that for all the family sessions, and it was so liberating just rolling up to these family photo sessions with a single lens and a single camera and being able to knock out everything I wanted to do. So that was kind of that was like the thin end of a wedge in terms of me maybe thinking that there's room for a zoom lens in my workflow. So that was one thing. The other, my wife, she will pretty often second shoot for me whenever a wedding needs a second shooter, which is not frequently, but not infrequent either. She probably will photograph maybe half a dozen weddings a year with me, which is, maybe like 10% of the weddings that I photograph. When she first started doing this for me, I would give her one of the SL2-S cameras that I have, and then something like a 75 or a 28, like one of these primes that if I'm not using, I can let her use. But I would often just find myself needing the lens that she had too often and having to like chase her down and like find it. And so that was kind of another use case that popped up. Megan's second shooting, me needing to have all of my kit and not even think about the impact that her being there would have on the availability of lenses for me. So I could just keep operating whether she's there or not. So that was another use case. And then the third kind of big use case for thinking a zoom lens might be nice is for YouTube. I'm currently filming this and other videos. This like A camera is the 35 Oppo SL, and I would like a little bit more flexibility. I also kind of like the idea of starting to separate like video gear from wedding gear. I just don't ever want to run into the situation where I'm like, oh my God, I forgot to put the 35 back in the bag. It's like on the camera, on the tripod at the office because I just recorded yesterday or something like that. So, not a big deal if I leave the 28-70, but is a big deal if I leave that 35 accidentally. And there's also the flexibility to being able to not be stuck at 35, but maybe I want to punch in a little bit more for some video work. From the aesthetic standpoint, I think this lens is great. It's all metal. Even the lens hood is metal, which is quite nice. I don't think I'll really use the lens hood much, but maybe Megan will when she second shoots with me. Also, I'm sorry, I just noticed my nails. I was painting with black paint yesterday and tried my best to get it all out and just couldn't. So it looks like I have terrible hygiene, but I promise that's not the case. Like all of the SL lenses, there are no buttons or anything. It's just this clean font. Also, it's wild how much heavier these Oppo primes are compared to how lightweight this thing is. It's fully weather sealed. Some people might wonder what the difference is between this and the Sigma and why the 2x price is justified. It's honestly probably not a direct correlation between like features and price, but it's like a lot of the details, I guess. I will pay extra for, it sounds so dumb, but like I'll pay extra for this font. I think this font is beautiful. I'll pay extra for the metal barrel. I don't know. There's something about that like metallic chill that feels good. Picking up a cold metal lens feels much better to me than picking up one of my old plastic housed camera lenses or Canon lenses. You pay a little bit extra for full weather sealing. I think that the Sigma is probably, I think it's just the back gasket here. Again, like I don't think that it's a big deal. You could take that Sigma out in inclement weather and I'm sure it'd be just fine. But I like know that I can take this out and it would be fine. I don't know if that makes a difference. I love that there's no buttons on here at all. No switches, nothing clunky or clicky or anything like that. This throw right here feels so good, feels solid. The resistance is like right on point. Same with the focusing ring here. This is what it looks like with the hood on. And, of course, because they're the same filter size, front element size, the hood fits on the prime lenses too. I have no idea if it vignettes with it on there. I haven't tested. This is what it looks like on the camera. This lens is nice and light too, so you sort of start to regain that kind of optimal balance between like the mirrorless, the heavy mirrorless body and the mirrorless lenses. You know, I'd say these lenses are also, you know, very well balanced too. This system here, like this is heavy, but it is also nicely balanced, I'd say. But it does weigh a lot. And yeah, to have this on there definitely, you know, makes it a little bit, it definitely feels different. It feels a little more back heavy, a little more anchored. Yeah, just feels great. Again, I wish that there were hard detents at these 4 focal lengths, but again, I don't think I've ever seen that before. I figured I might as well show you the packaging. Comes in like a new box that opens up like a origami sleevey thingy. Ta-da! All right, guys, so here we are with the engagement session with the 28-70. Let's go ahead and actually just switch here. Okay, these are, I also had the 50 and the Oppo 35 that I was using. But yeah, we are here with just the 28-70 now. And you can see I use it for the majority of the shoot because I wanted to kind of get a good sense for what this looked like. There were a couple photos that I wanted to draw attention to. This one here, we can look at, so this is the edited one, but if we look at the original, you can see this lens has a pretty gnarly vignette, and this is at 28, you can see over here. Yeah, it has a pretty gnarly vignette, so in order to kind of correct for that, I did end up really cranking up the vignetting slider here just to try and squeeze some of it out of there. That was kind of the only, I guess, issue that I ran into. Flare control, I wanted to test that and just kind of see what that looks like. This little flare here would pop up every once in a while. Again, not a big deal. I'm also just want to underscore, I'm not like the photographer who's seeking perfection. If anything, I kind of like, at least the clients that I photograph, the couples I photograph, like they're hiring me because the photos have character, they're not perfect. I mean, even for, you know, when I'm using the Oppo lenses here, they're so sharp, I'm reducing clarity, you know, over here to kind of soften them up a little bit. But here's like, you know, the Oppo SL3 backlit 28-70. I'm just gonna make blue so it's easy to spot when they're alongside other lenses to see if I can do a little bit of comparison. Okay, here's the 35 Summicron and the Oppo, and here is similar shot with the 28-70 at 28. Edited, they look pretty similar. Original, you can kind of see where the 28-70 has this vignetting around the corners here. This is a 35, so it's not apples to apples, but I can tell you that the 28 Oppo does not have any vignetting in the corners either. Overall, I'm just gonna say that the only like issue that I was kind of dealing with when editing was simply this vignette that occurs at 28, but otherwise really good. Not as much micro contrast as the Oppo SL primes, obviously, but you know, it's what you can expect when you're paying $3,000 to $4,000 less for a lens. Also, gosh, Lightroom is so slow right now. Cool. Anyways, there's that. I'm gonna throw up just a few faves from the shoot here that you guys can take a look at. I'm just gonna breeze through like a dozen or so, and then kind of have some closing thoughts at the end, so stick around for that. Okay, here are some photos. I also realized that I didn't talk about what this lens might be like for a travel companion, but I think it would be pretty awesome actually. For me, I'm usually taking the Q2 as a travel camera, but if you're looking for a travel lens for the SL system, then this I think might be like the perfect travel lens. I mean, to have 28 to 70 at your fingertips and have it all in such a lightweight package, and for the price too. I mean, not that your gear is going to get stolen if you travel, but if it does get stolen, it's not like a $5,000 Oppo lens or like a $6,000 Q camera getting stolen. I don't know. Yeah, there's that. There's a bunch of factors I think to consider when you're thinking about like what's ideal travel kit, but I think that this one might be a really good candidate for that. So anyways, all that to say, I hope that you guys find this review helpful. My Instagram handle is hello Brandon Scott, and if you're at all interested in kind of following along and seeing what Leica gear is like being used by a wedding photographer every day, I would encourage you guys to follow along. See you later.